Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:06 on this fourth hour of 4 hours of morning radio brilliance. And it's only brilliant because of my effervescent co-host, Mercedes Schlapp, with us all morning. Thanks for being here, Mercedes.
You're making me blush. You're making me blush, Larry. Come on.
Coming up in 10 minutes, Sierra Fox of Fox 5. And then at 8:35, Stephanie Lundquist-Arora, a mom in Virginia, who's tracking a bill in the Senate that makes it harder for kids to participate in sports. We'll get to all of that coming up in just a hot minute. But joining us now are the couple who have led the Recall Charles Allen campaign in the District of Columbia that really could make a huge difference in terms of how the elected officials in Washington actually relate back to their voters. Jennifer SQUIRES and NED ERTEL, and real fast, the recallcharlesallen.com is the website, recallcharlesallen.com. If you're in Washington and you're sick and tired of his kind of lack of leadership over law and order and crime. Jennifer, Ned, thank you both for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
First of all, I wasn't even aware that there was a recall provision in the District of Columbia. We hear about recalls a lot in California. There was an attempted recall in Virginia, but those recalls have to go through a court, and it's sort of convoluted. What's the process here in D.C.?
Well, the process basically requires us to get essentially petitions out there that have 10% of the registered voters in a given district. So you can recall your local ANC commissioner, you can do your council person or the mayor or whoever, but you need 10% of the registered voters to sign a petition. And the petition requirement is you have a statement of the recall, why you're recalling the person. They get a chance to respond. And then once you file those petitions and accepted by the Board of Elections, you have 180 days to get the required number of signatures.
Okay. And I understand the clock started ticking on that yesterday. Is that right?
It's supposed to start ticking next week on the 13th. There's a hearing in front of the Board of Elections.
Forgive me. I thought so. And let's just be clear: 10% of registered voters. So it doesn't matter if they voted in the last election or not. It's just if you're a registered voter in Ward 6. Do you have an idea of what that number is?
Yeah, it's approximately 6,140, but that number fluctuates on a monthly basis.
All right. And I'm curious, Jennifer, why Charles Allen? Because honestly, from Phil Mendelson to Muriel Bowser to Trayon White to various members of the leadership at the district council level, you could target anybody. Why Charles Allen?
Yeah, that's a good question. We basically were focusing on Charles Allen because that's our council member. So
there you go.
we've lived in Ward 6 for over 20 years, as have many of our friends and the friends specifically that are involved in this effort and started this effort. We've been here forever. We sent our kids to local schools. We've purchased property. We've lived in the district. So that's who we know that we could reach out and touch and have the most effect on our daily life, right? That's things that are happening right outside our front door.
So we've also seen that this is part of collecting these signatures. You're hoping to collect more than 8,000 signatures as you're going through the community. What's the response of the people there, number one? Number two, how do people submit their signatures?
One, we haven't gotten the petitions yet, so we haven't had a chance to really see. But I'll tell you this, from the fundraising total and the emails that we've been getting, the response has been pretty overwhelming. People have just had enough. Everyone's been touched by crime. I don't know a single person myself who hasn't either been carjacked or knows somebody carjacked. And, the crime is ever present here in Ward 6. What I would suggest, if you want to sign our petition, it has to be done manually. There's no app. So you have to go to, we're gonna be doing petition holding parties so that people can come to houses, and we're gonna be going door to door. We'll get a booth at Eastern Market. So we'll be out there in the community. But if you really want to get involved, go to www.recallcharlesallen.com. You can sign up to volunteer. Send us an email, and we'll put you on our list.
There's a lot of people who will cynically look at this and say, and I'll be honest. I mean, my biggest problem with what's going on in Washington, D.C. is that it's one-party rule. Everybody has the exact same political positions, the same ideas. Everything is voted. You know, it's almost always 9-0. There's nobody's held accountable by even facing any political opposition. So they may say, okay, guys, you may be able to recall Charles Allen. He's just going to be replaced with another Charles Allen.
That's the perils. Go ahead. I'll let Jen go.
Yeah, that's one of the questions that we get a lot. And we just want to stress again that this is not a political campaign.
Yeah.
We are just community members doing this. We are not running for anything. We just really, this bubbled up as the impetus of this was just to send a message, get people to listen to what everyone is saying in this neighborhood and respond to it, be accountable.
Well, Jennifer, I think that's exactly right. If I may, I think the answer to, they're just going to replace him with another, the answer is this sends a message. This lets everybody know who's really in charge here, who should be in charge, and that is the voters. And you can't just expect that you're going to get reelected and reelected year after year after year. Real fast, Ned, if I could follow up, or either of you, I should say. When you say they have to do something, what would you have them do? They're going to claim, hey, we just passed our crime bill. What more do you want from us? What common sense solutions would you like them to begin with to actually start making a difference?
For me, the police force right now is at a 50-year low. We're down about 400 or 500 officers since the beginning of the pandemic. We need more money to go to the police force. They need to roll back some of these reforms that they put in. That crime bill that they just passed, Charles Allen voted for, every amendment to water it down. He made it as weak as possible. It's just crazy. I don't understand where he lives because he doesn't live in the same ward I do.
Jennifer, have you all contacted Charles Allen, or has there been any response that's come from him on anything he's going to do to try to basically reduce the violent crime rates in D.C.?
Well, we had he had a panel in the ward last week that was supposedly about understanding juvenile carjacking. I don't really think that really got at what we needed to address. I think we all understand what the issue is. We get it. People are suffering from it. People are getting assaulted by it. People are dying from it. We get it. We need to know what he's going to do to address it, particularly in this ward. What's going to happen?
That is so, I'm sorry, it's just the hubris behind how patronizing that is. We understand that you're concerned about carjacking.
What's going on?
He actually said at the beginning of that, this is how out of touch he is. He said D.C. is a safe city. And 274 people were murdered here last year.
Yeah, that's outrageous. Not to mention, we just mentioned that car insurance rates are up over 40% in D.C., highest increase ever. It's gone from $1,700 to $2,400 in just 1 year because of it. I mean, that's nothing, obviously, compared to people losing their lives, as we've seen. And you have to live right in the middle of it. You have to live there in Ward 6, which, by the way, Ward 6 wasn't always like this. I know people, when I moved here like 12, 13 years ago, there were people who lived down there, and it's a great neighborhood. It still is. I like going to the restaurants, but I haven't gone in a while because of the crime. Guys, thank you. This is people power. This is stepping up and saying, you know what, we've got to send a message, and we're going to begin sending that message through this recall effort of Charles Allen. It's recallcharlesallen.com. The petition should be available hopefully next week, Ned, you said?
Yeah, after the 13th, they should be available.
And I'm guessing people should sign up. They should get email alerts. You could have your own petition party on your block. You can the important thing is they have to be a registered voter in Ward 6, and we're going to get this done. Guys, give us updates as this whole process goes forward over the next couple of months, please.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Making sense of mainstream media because the double standard is real. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
Joining us now, one of our favorite reporters here in D.C. at Fox 5. She is Sierra Fox, the aptly named Sierra Fox. And Sierra, we talked about this story earlier in the show. It started out as one of those feel-good, Good Samaritan stories where a young woman, an intern here in D.C., ended up helping out a homeless man, getting him tea, helping him buy his cancer drugs. It went viral on TikTok. She ended up raising $400,000 for this man. And then your investigation started here and started diving deeper into it. What did you find, Sierra?
Yes, well, first off, I have to say thank you so much for having me on. I have to admit, at Fox 5, I work nights, so it's super early for me. But when your executive producer reached out, definitely wanted to jump on to inform your viewers. But here at Fox 5, we have such a phenomenal and talented team of journalists, so I can't take full credit for this discovery. It was a team effort. Our assignment desk received a tip from a credible source telling us about who Alonzo Hebron, the man in the video, is, and connecting us with one of his victims who didn't want us to share her name. And just after digging deeper by reaching out to officials and reviewing court documents, D.C. police and the records itself show that Alonzo Hebron has a violent criminal history. So myself and my colleagues fully vetted this man and the information before reporting it, just like we do with any story we air. Fox 5, didn't just go looking up this man's past to ruin a positive story, as some are wrongly stating online. People in the community noticed who he was, were worried, and reached out to us to investigate. And the victim we spoke with also identified him as the man who brutally assaulted her years ago, and we verified her legitimacy as well. And DC does not release mugshots, so that's why one of Alonzo isn't available.
Okay.
Wow. I mean, that's an insane story. And the piece of this that I think makes all of us concerned is you have this DC intern who, obviously puts this on TikTok, is trying to be the good Samaritan here, but is way over her in her helping this homeless man. I mean, wasn't she putting her own life in danger?
People who reached out to us, did feel that way. That's not for me as a journalist to necessarily say. But the records do show the Department of Justice says in 2012, Alonzo Hebron was sentenced to 5 years in prison for stabbing a man in the neck with a screwdriver during a fight on Queen Street in Northeast DC. The suspect's past also includes other assaults and robberies. And to be quite honest with you, since our story aired Tuesday night, I have received other messages from people stating they are alleged victims of crime he has committed. But of course, I want to review those before putting the specific details out there. Yeah. And as far as the victim we spoke with, she shared surveillance video of the attack that happened to her when she was homeless back in June 2020. And it's very difficult to watch. You can see Alonzo put a scarf over her head while she was sleeping outside Foundry United Methodist Church in Northwest DC, started punching her face and body for several minutes, and a judge did ultimately sentence Alonzo to 4 years in prison.
Yeah, no, it's horrible video, and it's such a violent attack, but it needs to be seen because this plays into so many people's obvious, very real concerns, not just about the rampant crime in D.C., but how the criminal, vagrant, and homeless issue is linked to that. The fact of the matter is a lot of people who are living on the streets, yes, they're on hard times, yes, they need support, they need help, but oftentimes they're actually criminals too, and they have very serious problems that need to be dealt with. That's why we have a government that's supposed to deal with these things, Sierra. I'll get off my soapbox. I'll ask you another question now, and that is, do we know, is there an open warrant on this man? Do we know where his whereabouts are now? Is he a danger to the community, and has law enforcement know about his whereabouts?
That is a great question. Of course, we have tried to reach out to Alonzo to give him the opportunity to share his side, but he doesn't have a phone number or address readily available. He currently isn't in the hotel room the young lady purchased for him, so we aren't sure about his whereabouts. Now, according to D.C. courts, Alonzo was released to a halfway house last year in June 2023. He escaped, and then he was returned by the U.S. Marshal Service, but it's not clear when he was released or where he has been since then, and how soon or how recently he was released from prison. So we're still working on gathering those details.
Listen, this is a dangerous city, and we know that there are criminals on the streets. We know that there are criminals who have committed pretty bad, violent crimes who are let out on cashless bail, who aren't seeing the full sentence that they should be seeing, and this is a perfect example of that. And I know that you have been getting some heat on social media for this story, Sierra. You've done great reporting. You've done a journalist job. You report on this town the way a reporter's supposed to report on this town, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And as a parent of college-age children, I would want to know this before I send my daughter to D.C., and I would want to give her precautions that she knows exactly what's going on in that town in case she does, want to reach out and help somebody out. Beware, be cautious. I think you did a real service with this, so good job.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, and I do have to say I understand a lot of people are disappointed because the original story was so heartwarming. It received more than 5 million views on TikTok, and now it's taken an unexpected and unfortunate turn. But as a journalist, it is my job to objectively report the facts to viewers in an unbiased way, hold up a mirror and show people what's going on. And at the end of the day, viewers are going to interpret the information as they want. But I do want to make it clear this story has nothing to do with race, as some comments online are disgustingly and sadly suggesting. I'm mixed. My mom is black, so diversity and equality are very important to me personally. The victim we spoke with saw how much time the college student was spending with the man alone and just wanted to make sure the young lady and others were careful and did not get hurt. Again, no one is taking away the act of kindness the young lady exhibited. The victim we spoke with even, said she doesn't fault the college student's intentions, and it was a good deed she was trying to showcase. And the victim also wants to make it clear it's not about the money, as people are implying. She makes a living for herself and is doing well and has help, but for her, this is just about safety in the community.
Yeah,
Sierra, if I'd be her parent, I would have told her, this is not the way to do this. You put them in the hands of professionals is where it needs to go. So she's, I wouldn't encourage any of these kids to do that.
No, thank you. And it's so funny. This is the irony of this, because thank God we work in radio, because we've told this story, we've been talking about it, and I literally had no idea there was a racial component to this, because we're just dealing with the audio from your reporting, and we're dealing with the data in front of us, and not with any visuals. And that's, oh God, they just want to inject race into anything. Sierra, great job. Aren't you glad your EP woke you up now?
I am. No, your EP. I'm so glad she reached out. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, our EP. Oh, yeah. Oh, our EP will wake you up. In fact, you're lucky you got off easy. We started at 5 a.m., Sierra. Oh, you could have had a much earlier wake-up call.
Oh, yeah.
I know. She gave me some options, and I'm very appreciative. I took the 8:15, which was the latest time.
Heather Hunter's the best. Don't be stealing her over there at Fox 5. Thank you, Sierra. Great talking with you.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
8:20. Go back to sleep. 8:25.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Hold on here. We've gotten through 3.5 hours of O'Connor and Company this morning, Mercedes Schlapp, and we still haven't even gotten to a sitting U.S. Senator, a Democrat, saying live on television last night that the people his party cares most about is illegal immigrants. He literally said that on MSNBC.
You can't make it up. You just can't make it up.
The people we care most about, undocumented immigrants. That's what he said. All right, we're going to have to get to that.
Are you surprised? I'm not surprised.
No, but I do like it when they say it out loud.
Yes.
That's Mercedes Schlapp. I'm Larry O'Connor. Joining us now is Fairfax County mother and advocate Stephanie Lundquist-Arora, member of that Coalition for TJ, and a chapter leader of the Independent Women's Network. And Stephanie, thank you for bringing this bill to our attention. You've got a Virginia State Senator, formerly a Fairfax County School Board member, of course, Stella Pekarsky, whose first bill here that she's introducing as a state senator is to make children undergo a mental health evaluation before participating in sports. What talk about creating a what kind of problem is she trying to fix here? What am I unclear on this rampant problem of mental health issues among student athletes?
Good morning. Yes,
Good morning.
Thanks for having me. Well, it's interesting that suddenly now Stella Pekarsky is interested in mental health issues among children, given that she voted in favor of closing our schools down for 1.5 years. So I can't imagine what that did for children's mental health.
Well spotted.
But yes, I think she's posturing now and claiming that there's a mental health problem, and apparently trying to target that by erecting hurdles for our children to play sports with their schools, it seems to me.
Not to mention the fact, Stephanie, if I could, is that it's not even contested fact that children, especially preteen and teen young people, they need organized sports for their mental health. Even if there is some concern about whether they're experiencing depression or isolation or social anxiety, which many young people do, sports is a great thing for that. So why would she want to have this screening process?
Absolutely. And as parents, we see it just anecdotally in our own children, right, who play sports. I have 3 sons, and you see the sense of well-being and the self-esteem and the feeling of belonging that children have when they play sports. But it also, studies show that they're also less likely to vape and smoke marijuana and do things like that. So sports, I don't think anybody would argue that there's a problem with children playing sports. At least I hope they wouldn't. Mm-hmm. I really wonder about her intent. It feels like another overreach, doesn't it? Like, she used to be just a headache for parents in Fairfax County, and now it's for parents in all of Virginia, the overreach that's happening. Like, it makes sense to me that an athlete would have to undergo a physical evaluation to make sure they don't have any irregularities in their heart, and even to alleviate the burden that might cause for some students to participate, financial or otherwise. They have physical days at schools, just to make sure everybody can play, that's not a hurdle. But this mental evaluation they stipulate that student athletes have to have undergone a mental evaluation within the previous 14 months, and the doctor needs to attest that that's the case. So it seems unclear from the legislation if it's going to be a bureaucratic form that they're going to have children fill out at the doctor's office, or if they're going to have to go to actually see a psychologist to be evaluated mentally, and then the doctor attests that the child has done that. And really, how many children will that prevent from playing sports? What exactly is her purpose in all of this? I mean, so many times we were left in Fairfax County wondering what was Stella Pekarsky's purpose in a lot of things that she did on the school board, and it's just really unclear.
It sounds to me that the Democrats are the ones that need a mental health assessment, because God only knows they can't figure out that there's just two genders. But, it does raise a question, because I know filling out those athletic forms, they're such a pain. Like, you got to get the doctor's, approval or signature. It's so cumbersome. And then on top of that, to add the mental health assessment, which of course would be, can be costly, and it's going to require even more resources for these different school districts. It just seems that it's just way too much. And you would think that they would, this is not if it starts with sports, it's not going to end with sports. You're going to see mental health assessments for all these kids. So, how is this going to be stopped? Do you think it's going to go anywhere?
I'm not sure. I've tried to lobby, and I hope that your listeners will also contact senators and say that they're opposed to this. I think it's really important that we put this to bed before it's an issue. I really hope this does not pass. I mean, all we can do is contact the senators and advocate for ourselves. They've done this in the past with athletes in Fairfax County, at least. I'm not sure if they've done it in other districts in Virginia, but they tried to mandate vaccines for athletes in school sports in Fairfax County, and then if they didn't, then they had to basically COVID test every single day. So I think they try to use athletics as a gateway or a control mechanism for students and families, for that matter. So this isn't the first time they've done something like this.
Mental health has been so politicized, sadly, in our country. I wonder what this screening looks like. It's like, this person has mental health problems because they believe there are only two genders. That's a serious threat. That sort of thing. Just reject this. How Democrats can gain the majority in the House of Delegates and in the Senate, maintain their majority in the Senate down in Richmond. Look at the school system right now and the state of our children in this state, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and say, you know what, we really have to do something. I've got an idea. Let's make it harder for kids to participate in organized sports. Let's put a mental health screening in there. That'll solve the problems that we've created in our schools. Guys, you're not even looking in the right direction as to all the problems we've got right now. Thank you for bringing this up, though, Stephanie. Great stuff as always. Stephanie Lundquist-Arora, thanks for joining us. Good Fairfax mom there. Trying to get it done. It's 8:44. Democrat Senator Chris Murphy appeared on MSNBC last night to sort of lament the fact that their border bill didn't get through. Of course, it had nothing to do with the border, but he said the quiet part out loud. Take a listen.
The negotiation didn't have a path to citizenship. It was entirely on their terms in order to get Ukraine funding, right?
Well, I mean, Chris, that's been a failed play for 20 years. So you are right that has been the Democratic strategy for 30 years, maybe. And it has failed to deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country.
Okay, let's first of all break it down. He just admits that the idea that Democrats want a path to citizenship is a failed policy. Thank you. Because it's unpopular with the American people because the American people don't expect that. But what was that last part he said again, real fast here?
And it has failed to deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country.
Mercedes, that's who they care about most, those Democrats, the illegal immigrants, not the American people.
Not the veterans, not the homeless, not the American people that are working very hard every day. Look, he obviously has exposed the reality of the Democrats, which is of open borders and amnesty.
8:52. That's a wrap, Mercedes Schlapp. Thank you so much. Oh, that rhymes. That's a wrap, Mercedes Schlapp. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Here comes Chris Plant. I'm afraid of what that's going to rhyme with. Chris?
Yeah, me too. I've heard some rhymes, but I can't use most of them here.
Yeah,
that's
all right.
Things being what they are out there on the internet and everything. I love the Senator Chris Murray accidentally revealing the truth about the Democrat Party. The Supreme Court today, there are mobs of lunatics outside the Supreme Court. We call them Democrats, waiting to hear about President Trump and his